Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Well, this past week, there was an interesting conference going on that I was invited to that sounded like it was really quite a influential conference about Nigeria. Nigeria, obviously a country in Africa, the largest country in Africa, that some people think is going to be the China of the next decade or two, as it has an incredible demographic dividend, unbelievable natural resources, a huge population, and is growing like crazy. And so I wanted to chat a little bit about this Canadian-Nigerian Trade Expo 2023 that occurred. It's an annual event in Toronto, and it fosters connections among business leaders and entrepreneurs from both Canada and Nigeria, promoting trade, investments, partnerships, etc. And it's organized by a group called Alpha Oasis International, which is a Canadian training consultancy. The expo was hosted in Toronto in December. And I've got two people from the organization Alpha Oasis International to join us tonight to tell us a little bit about this conference, Nigeria, and what's going on and what the opportunity is. Bose Odueka is the CEO of Alpha Oasis International. She's a seasoned financial service professional with over 3 decades of investment and planning, insurance, accounting, tax consultancy work and experience. She's worked in Nigeria, the UK, and Canada, and she is here with us today, as well as Bola Odalia. Is that correct?
Odiyale.
Adali, I apologize. And she is the executive director at Alpha Oasis International, and she's got over 30 years of experience in the financial services industry, covering Nigeria, South Africa, and Canada in the course of her degree in organizations such as Standard Chartered Bank, where she rose to become the director of Financial Institutions Africa. So the two of them have got a great amount of knowledge, both about Canada and about Nigeria. So Bola and Bose, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for inviting us to the show. We appreciate that.
My pleasure. So maybe, Bose, you could start out and tell us a little bit about why you have this Canada-Nigeria Trade Expo.
Thank you. In July 2012, we started AOI, Alpha Oasis International, and at that point, we were providing capacity building for individuals, businesses, corporations, and organizations, and doing it on a government to government and parastatals around the world. And we do business advisory services for sole proprietors and entrepreneurs as well, professionals, corporations, organizations in both countries, Nigeria and Canada. And later we decided to start doing big because we were invited to help organize, because we know we focus on international trade between countries. And that's part of what we actually trained on. We were then asked to help organize the Canada-Nigeria Trade Expo in 2022 by the Minister of State for Nigeria, the Federal Minister of State for Nigeria in Nigeria. So we brought the delegates led by Minister of State, Dr. Ramata Tijani Aliyu, to Canada last year, where they met the Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, Minister Fedeli as well last year, and then the Mayor of Brampton. So we're able to do that and achieve a lot. That was a lot that took place during that time. So apart from the government delegates, we also had the people that are from different industries, different sectors of the industries from Nigeria and Canada joining that expo.
Excellent.
That was in 2022. So we had the second edition in 2023.
And so tell me about the 2023 conference. How many people from Nigeria came to Toronto, traveled to Toronto to participate?
We had about 26 people, plus more of those who came from the US and some from Nigeria, Canada as well. But the people that came directly from Nigeria was about 26.
So I'm not sure if you know, but I had the pleasure of traveling to Lagos, Nigeria about 5-6 years ago. I was invited to be a keynote speaker at a big conference of small and medium-sized enterprises in Lagos, and talked about some of the challenges that Nigeria has, as well as some of the incredible opportunities. And I wrote a major presentation that I presented at that conference about how Africa is the continent of the future in the 21st century. And I'm really convinced that there is a huge opportunity. Maybe you could just outline for everyone, if you could, what are some of the realities in Nigeria that make it potentially this incredible investment opportunity for so many Canadian companies?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the question. Great question. As a matter of fact, what we realize in Canada is that there's so much information or lack of information about Nigeria. Canadians do not know a lot about Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria is actually Canada's largest trading partner out of Africa today, with over $2.2 billion in trade as at the end of 2022. So it's amazing that we're doing so much and there's so little information. Nigeria has the biggest GDP. It has the biggest economy in Africa, with about estimates at the end of 2023 should be about $500 billion worth of GDP. And the estimated growth is about 3% year on year. I mean, compare that with OECD countries of sub 1% GDP growth. So Africa actually larger than South Africa, is larger than Egypt in terms of size of the economy. It's the largest producer of oil in Africa today. It has a huge population, as you previously said, 220 million estimated by the World Bank.
And I think the rumor is that Lagos itself has as many people as all of Canada. Not officially. I think the official number is something like 27 million, but I think unofficially it's like almost 40 million people in one city.
No, the official number is 15 million. Unofficially is about 30 million, which is, I mean, look at Canada was 33 million some years ago, So think about it like that, with the size of probably Lagos that we're talking about, is the size is probably like Scarborough or, the GTA, maybe. It's very small, but you have so many people packed into it from all walks of life. So it's amazing that we have such, and then, you know about the youth population in Nigeria. 60% of the population in Nigeria is under 30 years of age. So that fueled the economy greatly. It fueled the fintech revolution. It fueled the mobile penetration because of the youth population in Nigeria today.
But this youth population, from what I understand, is reasonably well educated.
Very well educated. In Nigeria, at least 60% of our youth is, they have bachelor's of, they've gone to the university, attended university, even outside of Nigeria. In Canada today, Nigeria is probably the largest supplier of students in the universities today in Nigeria, in Canada. The number of students are coming into Canada. Canada is actually now the country of choice for parents out of Nigeria.
Why is that?
Well, I think because, Canada is very friendly. It's immigration friendly, apart from the weather, obviously. But, Nigerian parents, they love it because it's immigration friendly. They believe that their kids can get jobs, the land of opportunity, that kids can grow and, finish the education. The education system in Canada is superb. It's top notch. It's top, and then it's not as expensive as the US or
England.
One. What were you saying? I apologize.
Yeah, we're talking about the Nigerian population of students in Canada, about the fact that Canada is the country of choice for Nigerian parents sending their kids out of the country for education. And that's because the quality of education in Canada is top-notch. The immigration is very friendly. They know that their kids can come out of the school, path to permanent residency and citizenship is clear. And they can settle down and have, and get good jobs, and then, bring all that training back to Nigeria, when they choose to. And apart from that, it is cheaper than going to school in the US for international students or going. So it's a whole gamut.
Well, that sounds really very interesting. We're going to take a break for some messages and just be back in 2 minutes with
Bola.
A conversation about the Canadian-Nigerian Trade Expo. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're talking tonight about Nigeria. We're talking about the Canadian-Nigeria Trade Conference that took place just a couple of days ago, and why it happened, and what came out of it. But more importantly, we're talking about the opportunity to invest in and or do trade with Nigeria, because I think that is the topic of that expo, and really of interest to a lot of people. I'm joined tonight by Bose Odeka. She is the CEO of an organization called Alpha Oasis International, and also Bola Uduyal, who is the executive director of Alpha Oasis International. Bose and Bola, can you tell me, maybe each one of you for a minute or two, a little bit about each one of your own backgrounds and experience in both Nigeria, one in the UK, the other one in South Africa, and then now in Canada. Please tell us a little bit about your own career backgrounds.
Okay. I am a seasoned financial services professional. I started with working in insurance companies in Nigeria and bank. I was an assistant manager at Lion of Africa Insurance Company, which is one of the biggest insurance companies in Africa. At the age of 23, I was already an assistant manager. Before I had already worked at banks at that point as well, Continental Merchant Bank. I then migrated to UK, where I was working with different insurance companies, Commercial, Union, Minster, before Eagle Star, before then moving to Canada. We migrated to Canada in 1995, October, when my husband Abayo was employed by as a medical doctor, obs and gynae in Newfoundland. And from there, we moved to Toronto. But I've always been in the financial services industry. I'm a certified financial planner. I am a fellow of the Chartered Insurance Institute of London, England. I'm also a professional business accountant in Canada, and I'm a registered professional trainer. So all those are adding to what I do, which is my passion for serving people and helping people grow, brought up the idea of wanting to do things in terms of Alpha Oasis International, which was incorporated in 2012. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And Bola, how about yourself?
Personally, I mean, I had my bachelor's in chemistry, you know.
I lost you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Bola, are you there?
Yes,
tell us a
I'm
little
here.
bit about yourself, please.
Yes, so as I was saying, I had my bachelor's in chemistry. So I was actually a science student. Found myself in an MBA class. And I took the MBA course, and I found I loved financials. I loved financial services. I loved banking. And I became a banker. Started my career in banking with a merchant bank called Pacific Merchant Bank at that time. Moved into a commercial bank called Union Bank, and then started with Standard Chartered Bank. I was a Standard Chartered Bank, worked in commercial services, worked in consumer bank, worked with financial institutions unit, moved into South Africa on behalf of the bank. I was expatriated so I lived in Joburg for a while. I worked in Stanton. I was there for like 2 years, and then migrated to Canada, worked with a company called International Financial Data Services, IFDS, which was, at that time, I had been doing sales, I had been doing banking, I had been in the front office. In Canada, I came in and I started working on compliance. I started working on compliance, I started working on IT, on the IT side. So that became really interesting. The transition was really interesting for me. I found that, I could do both. So I worked with IFDS for about 5 years, 6 years. and then, you know, decided to go to Nigeria and look for some other opportunities, and started what I call today credit-wise financials. Credit-wise financials started during the lockdown because I realized that there was a lot of poverty in Nigeria during the lockdown. You know, there was a lot of hunger. Women were having problems. So we started that business. And then so then I joined Boston as well with Alpha Oasis. We looked at how to look at international trade between Nigeria and Canada. Boston had started working on that earlier while I was doing my credit-wise, and then we joined forces. We worked on the 2022 Expo together, which he had already spoken about, and then it was hugely successful. So we decided that, okay, so this was a success. We had a lot of good reviews, and then we planned for the 2023, which we just finished in the past couple of days.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And you said you had 26 people that came from Nigeria and elsewhere. How many Canadians did you have at the Expo?
We had about 30 Canadians at the Expo.
Excellent. Tell me, if you could, why should Canada be interested in Nigeria?
Because Nigeria has, number one, the population. When you're doing business, you need the population. You need where you have the people that have the know-how. You need where you have the people that have information. Like tech is a very big thing in Nigeria, especially among the youth and the young adults. So we have that knowledge. We have, I'm not sure if you know about Flutterwave. It's one of the major, you know, Flutterwave, which is one of the major players in the tech industry. We have a lot of untapped resources. And you can tell Canada exports from Nigeria, they import services and trade worth about 1.7 billion in 2022. It's one of the biggest trading partners. Well, we are the biggest trading partner with Canada in Africa. Yeah. From Africa. Whereas the import to Nigeria from Canada was about 512 million. So really, we have a positive net inflow to Nigeria from Canada. So basically, we have a lot to do in terms of providing resources and things to Canada.
I've lost you. Are you there?
Yes. Part of the things that are exported to Nigeria from Canada are, well, imported from Nigeria to Canada, are mineral fuels, oils and cocoa, and raw materials and edible food, which totaled the 1.7 billion in 2022. Whereas in Nigeria, we import things from Canada that includes cars, cereals, fertilizers, aircrafts, and some equipment, which is about 512 million in 2022, as I said.
Okay, so if I might come in here, there's a lot of infrastructure development.
I've lost you again. Are you there?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, good. There's a lot of infrastructure development gap in Nigeria that can be filled, and Canada is missing out. You find that China is at the forefront of that partnership with Africa as a whole and Nigeria in specific. Look at power sector, for instance. The power sector, Nigeria has an installed capacity of only 12,000 megawatts. Think about it, 12,000 megawatts. Canada has, and that's like 12 gig, right? Canada has 149. We have a population of 220 people.
So Bola, it sounds like there's just a huge opportunity for trade.
There is a huge opportunity for trade. There's a huge opportunity for infrastructure development, which right now China is taking advantage of. Opportunity in the ICT sector, mostly because of the youth population. In the past few years, over $2 billion in investment money in Nigeria alone for fintech, and Canada is nowhere to be found.
So, Bola, we were talking about trade between Canada and Nigeria and how critically important it is. And you were talking about how Canada has a trade deficit with Nigeria because Nigeria is exporting to Canada dramatically more than Canada is exporting to Nigeria. What could Canadian exporters do to sell more into the Nigerian marketplace?
I believe they just need to understand, they have this fear of Nigeria because they don't understand Nigeria, number one. So this is a first step that we're taking for them to understand what Nigeria is all about, what opportunities abound in Nigeria. So they need to know the opportunities that abound in Nigeria and understand it, number one, because it's clear that they don't. And so once they take that step, understand, and then get to know what are the steps that need to be done, to be taken to do this? Okay, attend trade expos like we just did, right? Visit our website, understand the abilities, the opportunities that are there. Like, as I was saying, the ICT, the fintech sector, you have just the US companies investing solely, mostly in the fintech sector in Nigeria. As at the last year, 2022, early 2023, over $2 billion have been invested in fintech in Nigeria, and you have
$2 billion invested in fintech in Nigeria. That's incredible.
Yes, you have 7 unicorns in Africa today. 7, 4 of them are in Nigeria. They're Nigerian owned by young Nigerians. And as I said, about 60% of the whole population, 220 people, is under the age of 30. So it is really fueling the economy. Which means we have a huge working population. It's vibrant. The internet penetration is huge. You have smartphones. Like for instance, you have 210 million subscribers. Mobile phone subscribers. You can do everything and anything on your mobile phone in Nigeria today. And I was talking to someone during the Expo about the fact that when you look at the financial services in Nigeria and the financial services in Canada, or even in the US, all these Western economies, they're way, way behind what we have available in Nigeria today. I can tell you that. Why? Because the government has made sure that we have, services questioned and made sure that we have financial inclusion. You can imagine, because there are many people that are illiterate, they don't have access to computers, they don't have banks in those rural areas. So you can only do this business on your mobile phone.
Some people are saying that you're skipping technology, that you're going right past sort of the line connected technology and going straight to mobile technology, and you're saving all that money that Canada and other Western countries spent on putting telephone wires and cable throughout the world.
Exactly. It's amazing. You see, my mom is 93 years old. She has a mobile phone and she can do whatever she wants on her phone. And you have people that can borrow. You can borrow within 5 minutes. You can borrow $10, you can borrow $50, $100, $200 on your phone. 10 minutes, you're approved for that loan and you're getting your loan. So they're using AI capabilities, they're using all sorts of technology to actually drive financial inclusion. And the funding is coming from the Western world. Nigeria doesn't
because of that population and because of that young population, because of the growth opportunities. Well, we're going to have to take a break for some messages and come back in just 2 minutes with Bola and her team. Stay with us, everyone. We'll be just back in 2 minutes talking about the opportunities in Nigeria. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm joined tonight by 2 executives at an organization called Alpha Oasis International here in Toronto that has organized recently the Canada-Nigeria Trade Expo. It's Bose and Bola. Bose Udeka and Bole Unduyala. I've mispronounced both those names. I apologize, but hopefully they'll forgive me and we'll just refer to them as Bose and Bola. So Bose and Bola, I wonder if we could go through a couple of the sort of fears that Canadians have, because I think that that's important to address as well in regards to investing in Nigeria. And some of the, the things that we've talked about, which people don't understand, I think are critically important. Africa is a far larger continent than a lot of people realize because of the Mercator projection map that a lot of people look at in the Globe and Mail. It stretches out the Northern Hemisphere and Canada and Europe, etc. And if you actually look at the size, you could fit all of Europe and all of North America into the continent of Africa. Africa is really dramatically larger than it would appear on a lot of the maps that we look at. And Nigeria is a very sizable country. Some people called it the breadbasket of Africa at one point in time. It's where most of the people from Africa live. It's where most of the resources are, most of the agriculture, etc. It's really quite a beautiful resource, plentiful country, both in natural resources, obviously, as well as people resources. And maybe Bola could tell us, but I understand South Africa is a long way away. To fly from Nigeria to South Africa is a long flight, comparable to flying from Nigeria to London, England. And so therefore, people don't realize how big Africa is and what the size of the economy, the size of the territory, the size of the opportunity really is for the world to invest. And as we've talked about, the population is huge. It's young, et cetera. And some people, take a look at the last, 200 years of the Industrial Revolution, thinking about how America became the place that grew first so dramatically because it was the place that was big and populous and young. And then that became China, which was big and populous and young. And now some people are thinking it's going to be Nigeria. And so I think that is one of the reasons why some people think Nigeria is the continent, that Africa is the continent of the future and Nigeria is the country to invest in the future. That said, people have got some concerns, and I wonder if one of the two of you could address some of these concerns. When I went to Lagos, I was greeted by my host and a security guard. And the security guard stayed with us the whole time because they were worried about crime. They were very good at taking me to, I think it was Victoria Island, and I stayed in a nice hotel and traveled around with the security guard. And we went to one or two local establishments off of Victoria Island, but I wanted to go tour the marketplace. And the markets are spectacular in Lagos, but they wouldn't let me go. And they said that there was no way that I could be safe in the markets. So tell me a little bit about crime and violence, particularly against white people, foreigners, if you could, in Lagos.
I beg to disagree with that. There is none per se. I have Franca Nawuchi, who is married to a Nigerian right there. She goes everywhere. She dines with the locals. She buys Pedro gin, which is the best gin in the world, made in Nigeria. So really, I guess they're also are being overprotective. It's basically the same anywhere in the world. It's like when you are in New York and you are in Manhattan and you are thinking that things are not safe, you don't feel safe, or while you are in China and in some pockets. It depends on which pockets that you go to, which is not even safe for the locals as well. So being in VI, there is no way you can't go to the local raw places. There are some places even myself as a Nigerian wouldn't go to. I will security, but I'll have to blend. Blend means you dress differently. You don't go with your Lamborghini or wear your most expensive jewelry. Those are the things. That's what happens. Even when you go to different parts of the world, you still have to know which pocket. So saying that you cannot shop, we have a lot of white Nigerians because they're married to Nigerians or who have lived there for decades and they are still doing very well. So that is the misinformation. What it is in Nigeria is to be safe is not like Canada. You don't want to go out at 2 a.m. Yes, I wouldn't do that. Even I wouldn't. You have to be safe because And that's where you are, though. I would do that in VI. I'll do that in Ikoyi. I'll do that in Lekki. But I wouldn't go to places like, I have a place like I call Ajegunle. It's like where the very, very locals are. Then you wouldn't do that. It's like saying you are going to, in Canada, I won't go to Jane and Finch at 12 midnight. So there are pockets like that. There are some pockets.
I went to a wonderful local bar restaurant and had this chicken dish in, I think it was in rice or banana leaves. That was just banana leaves, I think it was. It was absolutely a spectacular dish. Let me ask Bola, if you could answer a question in regards to corruption. The other thing that people are really quite concerned about is the sense that there is a fair amount of corruption in Nigeria, and that you've got to pay people off. What's the reality in Nigeria today?
Well, I mean, as we already alluded to, bad news travels fast, and the CNNs and the BBCs of this world are interested in those negative news about Nigeria. Corruption is there. I will not say it's not there. They call it, when you look at a politician that's trying to lobby, you call it the politician is corrupt. But when the American looks at somebody that's trying to lobby the legislator, they call the person a lobbyist, right? They give them different nomenclatures, right, for doing exactly the same thing. That being said, the government is doing a lot about corruption because we know it's about perception. The country's perception is very important, even for investors, for foreign investors, because, the first thing they talk about is corruption. And that's why we have the Economic, Financial, and, Crimes Commission that is constantly auditing the politicians, ensuring that, before they get into power, they have what they call code of conduct review. You have to, declare your assets. And once you declare your assets, then you get into power. When you leave power, you have to declare your assets after you've left power. That way they want to see what you have acquired over. And they have actually caught them and sent some of these politicians to jail because of it. Actually because of this declaration of assets. And for different things, they've caught them, they publicly disgraced them. Even our central bank governor right now is in jail. Right now he's in jail, he's in court because of corruption. So the government is doing a lot.
So you're saying it's there, but it's less than it's in the past, and the government is combating it.
They seriously combat. It's like top of the agenda.
Okay, let me ask you one other question before we go back to the opportunities, because I think it's something that people talk about. Politics. You've had a history in the past of rotating the leadership of the government between a Christian and a Muslim, and then also there's been some issues of racial strife, religious strife in the north, where some Muslim groups have actually kidnapped young girls and things like that. Tell me, where are you in religious strife and politics right now in Nigeria?
We had our elections in, I think, February of 2023. It was, to be honest, this was one of the few times that we've had serious religious, infractions, because we realized that, look, you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, because we had a Muslim ticket, which was a big issue. The president was a Muslim, the vice president elect was also a Muslim. And so the other opposition parties were complaining that, look, why do you have a president being a Muslim? But at the end of the day, you find that even as a president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu got into power, and he began to choose his cabinet. The Christians are the greatest beneficiary of the cabinet today. The most important part, the military, customs, they're all occupied by Christians now. And then you find that in the north, they have, it's predominantly Muslim. The southeast is predominantly Christian. And in the southwest, where we are from, is half and half. We have half Christian, half Muslim. But the Nigerian Christian and Muslim, they're actually the most tolerant in the world. I can tell you that, the most tolerant. Forget about what you hear, the noise. My mother is Muslim. My father is Christian. My father was Christian. I was raised a Christian with a Muslim mother that went to Mecca at least 3-4 times. And that's a typical Nigerian household for you. So, we're extremely tolerant. My father will follow my mom to the mosque. My mom will follow my dad to the church. And that was how we grew up. And that was how we were brought up. So all of this that we hear it's mostly in the media because, you know, we walk side by side, and it was also about politics. A lot of it was, you know, political, you know, verbosity, because people were, you know, the opposition was trying to get Christians on their side, that, you know, the main party was fielding a Muslim ticket. But, you know, after the election, everybody is back to normal. It's business as usual now. Christians are, you know, actually the greatest beneficiaries of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government today. And so, you know, all the noise has sort of like died down where religion is concerned.
Okay, well, thank you for addressing that. That's great. So maybe, Boza, you could tell us a little bit about if some of the people listening today are Canadian business people and are interested in looking at Nigeria as either an investment opportunity or a trade opportunity. What are the steps they should take?
The first thing would be for them, just a minute. Okay. The first thing would be for them to actually meet with us, if or any other group that is from Nigeria, to know what are the opportunities that are available, number one, number two, and how to go about it. What I mean by that is, and that's exactly what I said before, when you go to any country, you want to know which pockets to go to, where to go, and who to deal with. The way that I will deal with Nigerians is a bit peculiar because I know about Nigeria. So that is why knowledge is important. And that's why we do business consultation as well. So if they meet with us and sit with us and tell us what they're trying to achieve, then we can actually go into details and tell them the best way to achieve that goal. You can't go to any country without doing your due diligence. And the due diligence includes knowing all the things to do and how to go about it. Even if I'm going to venture into business in China now, I'll have to find someone, the locals, or going through the embassy to find out more information, going through the people that have knowledge about the country they're going into. Apart from what you read, you want to get the right information. As Bola said as well, I'm a Christian, I'm a reverend, and I'm married to a Muslim who then changed and became a Christian later. So really, and we intermarry and we change. So there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. So really is having all the information that you need, making sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted, and you make sure you can make money in Nigeria very easily because of the population.
Well, I think I have to agree with you completely. You know, I had a lot of misconceptions about both Africa and Nigeria until, as I mentioned earlier, I was invited to be a keynote speaker at a conference in Lagos, and I traveled to Nigeria. We toured Lagos in great detail. Frankly, I didn't see the balance of the country, and I would have loved to have done so. But we toured all around Lagos. I was astounded at the infrastructure development where they're building elevated LRTs, light rail transits, right down the middle of freeways, numerous different freeways being built, housing being built all over the place, 1,000-acre redevelopment being built into the ocean as part of a coastal recovery, coastal wave protection, with an incredible infrastructure amount being invested in that coastal defense and new real estate development that was taking place. And speaking with some of the people from the military, some of the people from the government, some of the people from different small and medium-sized enterprises, I was astounded at the opportunities and the wonderful people that I had the opportunity of meeting. I was there for a week. And, you know, initially it was very noticeable to myself and others that I looked different than everyone else. After about 3 days, I forgot, and everyone else forgot that I looked like different than anyone else. And it was really quite an amazing experience for me to be the only white person in a conference of hundreds of people that were not white, and I forgot it and they forgot it, and we ended up having a great time together. So I thank you for joining us and telling us about the Nigerian Canadian Expo and about your organization. If people want to reach out to you to find you know, about yourself and about some of your services and educating them in regards to Nigeria, how do they contact you best?
There are different ways. Our website is www.alphaoasisinternational.com.
alphaoasisinternational.com.
Yes, like the Alpha and Omega, ALPHA-OASIS international.com. We have a different phone number. My personal cell phone, which they can always reach, is 416-737-8990. They can call the business number for Alpha Oasis International, which is 647. I'll have to give you that in a minute. And they can email us at info@alphaoasisinternational.com or info@CanadaNigeriaExpo.com. And they can also cut us up through LinkedIn, connect with me, Bose Odueke, on LinkedIn or Alpha Oasis on LinkedIn. There are so many ways they can reach us.
They can also connect with me on LinkedIn, Bola Odiale on LinkedIn. My phone number is 647-234-6004. So there's so many ways they can get us, even on Instagram. We're there on Instagram, AOI Training, and that's the handle on Instagram today. So they can get us.
Well, thank you so much, Bola and Bosa, for joining me today and telling us about the Canadian-Nigerian Expo. And thank you so much for educating us a little bit about Nigeria. That's our show. We're going to take a break and come back in just 2 minutes, and I'm going to give you some of my own impressions about the opportunity in both Africa and Nigeria. Bosa and Bola, thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.